Good evening, everybody. This is a continued video post that I'm going to be doing on the Steelers scores. I had done the first 7 years of the Steelers in the Pirate uniform, 1933 to 1939. I also did the Steelers from 1940 to 49, all the scores that I had written down, saying the scores, and also showing you the scores on, tonight I am going to do all the scores from 1950 to 1959. And then we'll do a recap after that, just like I did in my previous two videos, and then I'll upload it, and then there's comments. You can leave a comment. Also, I will also put it on my blog that I have, every Pittsburgh Steelers scores. So let's get going, shall we? 1950. The Steelers coach was John Michelin. I think that's how you spell his name. Pronounce his name. The Steelers in 1950 were 6-6, fourth place finish. They lost to the Giants 18-7. They lost to the Lions 10-7. They beat the Redskins 26-7. Lost to the Browns. By the way, this is actually the Browns' first season. By the way, a lot of people don't know that this is actually the Browns' it's the same Brown team. They lost to the Browns 30-17. I'll explain more of this when this is over with, the scores. They beat the Giants 17-6. They lost to the Eagles 17-6. They lost to the Browns 45-7. They beat the Eagles 9-7. They beat the Colts 17-7. They beat the Cardinals 28-17, and then they lost to the Redskins 24-7, and then beat the Cardinals 28-7. The Steelers offense scored 180 points, 15.0 average, not that good. Their defense gave up 195 points, 16.3 average. This was a 12-game season. Getting back to that Brown thing, the Browns, the 49ers, all came, and the Colts all came from, and I forgot what was the name of the I think it was the AAC or something like that. But anyway, there was only like 4 seasons with that the league, and the Browns won the NFL championship all 4. Not NFL championship, but they won the championship in that league all 4 years. And the last year, they actually beat the 49ers. That's right, the San Francisco 49ers. So the Browns, the 49ers, and the Colts all came in 1950. And what's interesting is the Colts that Colt team actually only lasted 1 year, the Baltimore Colts. Then they brought back another Baltimore Colt team in 1951. And that was the team that became, the Indianapolis Colts and, blah, 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 okay? A lot of people don't know that either. But I forgot what was the name of the league. AAA, it was like 4 letters it was. But anyway, here is the 1950 season. It's very important because it's a very, very important year, as you can see. 1951. Coach was still John Michelin, and a 12-game season. Before it was like a 10-game season. Now they're up to 11. Now it's up to 12. So we're getting more closer to of today's game. In 1951, they were 4-7-1, a 4th place finish. Let's see. They beat. No, actually, I take it back. They tied with the Giants 13-13. They lost to the Packers 35-33. They lost to the 49ers, 28-24. They lost to the Browns, 17-0. They beat the Cardinals, 28-14. They lost to the Eagles, 34-13. They beat the Packers 28-7. They lost to the Redskins 22-7. I take it back. They beat the Eagles 17-3. They lost to the Giants 14-0. They lost to the Browns 28-0. And then they beat the Redskins 20-10. The offense scored 183 points, averaging 15.3 a game. The defense gave up 235 points, a 19.6 average. And as you can see, if you look at my other videos that I had, the first two videos, you notice now all the teams are more familiar now. And basically every team that's on here is the same thing as today's teams. There's no like weird teams like the Yankees or the Yanks or the Dodgers, you know, the Steelers or the Pirates. Now you notice that all the teams are like today. So basically, from this point on, if I'm not mistaken, as you can see, they're basically, you know, the teams are the same. You know, there's no real change. So here is the 1951 season. I'm blabbing on here. If you can see it here, 1951. Okay, let's move on to 1952, shall we? Okay, coach was I take it back. The coach was Joe Back, or Batch. Back. I think it's Back. Okay. They were 5-7 in 12 games. Fourth place again. So as you can see, you don't win your division, you're not going nowhere. So let's recap the 1952 season. The Steelers lost to the Eagles 31-25. They lost to the Browns 21-20. They lost to the Eagles 26-21. The Redskins beat them 28-24. Then the Steelers then beat the Cardinals 34-28. Beat the Redskins 24-23. Lost to the Lions 31-6. Lost to the Browns again 29-28. Beat the Cardinals 17-14. And actually in Game 10 beat the Giants 63-7. Now this is important because that is the highest score in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Not even the Steelers of the 70s can say that. Yeah, interesting. And they then beat the 49ers 24-7. Then they lost to the Rams 28-14 to end that season. Their offense, probably one of the best offenses they've had so far. They scored 300 points. Now, if they had some of these offenses in a couple years before that, they probably would have won the championship. They scored 25 points. They scored 300 points, a 25.0 average. Their defense, 273 points, a 22.8 average. So as you can see, they've always had a problem. Back then, the defense was pretty good, offense was terrible. Now the offense is pretty good. Now the defense is kind of terrible. So it's like they never could really get it right. You know what I mean? So here's the 1952 season. I'll try to get that in the video if I can. You can see Joe Back in there. There's the scores. Okay. All right. Now here's the 1953 season. Coached by Joe Back. Or Bach, or how you pronounce it. 12-game season. They were 6-6. Okay, good for fourth place. They lost to the Lions 38-21. They beat the Giants 24-14. They beat the Cardinals 31-28. They lost to the Eagles 23-7. They beat the Packers 31-14. Lost to the Eagles 35-7. Lost to the Browns 34-16. Beat the Giants 14-10. Lost to the Browns 20-16. Lost to the Redskins 17-9. Beat the Cardinals 21-17. And then beat the Redskins 14-13. So they actually ended up the last two games they actually won on a 2-game winning streak. So that was pretty good. Their offense scored 211 points, a 17.6 average, which is actually pretty good, you know, better than what it's been, you know, but their defense now is just struggling really bad. They gave up 263 points for a 21.9 average. So, again, you know, now if they would have had some of those defensive teams that they had before, they would have probably been a better record, maybe even won the division. So, again, you know, that's how it was back then for them. And here is the 1953 season. There's Joe Bach. Or Joe Batch. Okay. moving on to 1954. The coach was Walt Kiesling. I believe he was also the coach with them a couple times before that. In the couple years that I've also did videos on here, a couple years, he was also the coach. And he came back and was the coach again. Didn't help. 1954, Steelers were 5-7. So it's either 6-6, 5-7, They're basically hovering around 500 at that time. Okay, 5-7, 12 games. 1954, let's see. They beat the Packers 21-20. They beat the Redskins 37-7. They lost to the Eagles 24-22. They beat the Browns 55-27. 55 again, that's high score. They beat, well, I think that was the second highest score they actually had, up to the other one. They beat the Giants 53-7. So, that was the fourth game when they beat the Browns 55-27. That was like their second highest score. Okay, then they beat the Eagles 17-7. Then they lost to the Cardinals 17-14. They lost to the Giants 30-6. They lost to the Redskins 17-14. They lost to the 49ers 31-3. Beat the Cardinals 20-17. Lost to the Giants 24-3. And then lost to the Browns 42-7. Their offense scored 219 points, an 18.3 average. Their defense gave up 263 points, 21.9 average, which I believe was the same thing it was the year before. Yes, it was 21.9. So 52, their average was 22.8, 53, 21.9, and of course 54, 21.9. So those 3 years, their defense was above 20 points a game, and that's not good. So here is the 1954 season. I don't know if you can see it in the light because these lights are not that good. The lighting was, kind of crappy. The last 2 times when I did this, I took the light out when I did the video. That's why it's facing this way now. I had it going the other way. I forgot about when I made this video. Wanted to get it over with. Okay, the 1955 season. Again, Walt Kiesling. 1955, they were 4-8. So, 6th place. I guess they had 6 teams in that division, which was last place. Okay, the Steelers beat the Cardinals 14-7, lost to the Rams 27-26, beat the Giants 30-23, beat the Eagles 13-7, beat the Giants 19-17, then lost to the Eagles 24-0, lost to the Cardinals 27-13, lost to the Lions 31-28, lost to the Browns 41-14, lost to the Redskins 23-14, lost to the Browns 30-7, and then lost to the Redskins 28-17. So the Steelers actually ended the season with a 7-game losing streak, where they were actually 4-1. They actually started off 4-1 that year, and they actually lost their last 7 games to finish 4-8. Their offense scored 195 points, 16.3 average, defense 285, 23.8. Now their defense is even getting worse. That's like the 4th year in a row their defense has been above 20. Not good. So, I mean, there is the recap of the 1955 season. I'm sorry about the lighting in the background, but I don't know if you guys can see it. There is the 1955 season. I know it probably comes in better. There's the 1955 season. I'll try to get into that as close as I can there. Okay. 1956. Again, coached by Walt Kiesling. Steelers were 5-7. So it's like they never could get. Seems like they never could break above that 500 mark. Okay, we'll start off. They beat the Redskins 30-13. They lost to the Browns 14-10. They lost to the Eagles 35-21. They lost to the Giants 38-10. They beat the Browns 24-16. They lost to the Giants 17-14. They lost to the Eagles 14-7. They beat the Cardinals 14-7. They lost to the Cardinals 38-27. Like I said, back then a lot of times they had back-to-back games against teams back then. That's the way it was back then. And then they beat the Rams 30-13, lost to the Lions 45-7. Then lost. I take it back. They beat the Redskins 23-0. So let's see. Their offense scores 217 points, 18.1 average. The defense gives up 250, 20.9. That's like this, what, 5th year in a row now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 5 years in a row. The defense gives up 20 or more points a game. Those, what, 250, 20.9. The 5th year in a row, the Steelers defense give up 20 or more points a game. And there is the 1956 season. Okay, if you can see it there. Okay, moving along. 1957. The new coach is Buddy Parker. They won 6-6. So it's like, again, here they are. They can't really get above, water here. Okay, 1957. They started off beating the Redskins 20-7. They lost to the Browns 23-12. They then beat the Cardinals 29-20. They lost to the Giants 35-0. Beat the Eagles 6-0. Beat the Colts 19-13. Lost to the Browns 24-0. Lost to the Packers 27-10. Lost to the Eagles 7-6. Beat the Giants 21-10. Lost to the Redskins 10-3. And then beat the Cardinals 27-2. Okay. Their offense scores 161 points, a 13.4 average. And their defense only give up 178 points, 14.9. So now their defense is playing great. Now their offense their offense is bad. So it's either the offense is good and their defense is bad, or the defense is good and the offense is horrible. So it's like the Steelers never can get a balance back then. There was always something wrong with that team. It's like, God, some of these offensive teams they've had, if they could put some two defensive teams together with that team, man, you never know what will happen. So here is the 1957 season. Like I said, I'm sorry about the lighting. The first 2 videos, I actually moved the light going the other way, so that's why it came in better. And there is a if you can see the scores, there's a 1957. There's Buddy Parker, 57 season. So, okay. Moving on to 1958. Steelers actually had a winning record. They were 7-4-1. Only good for 3rd place though. So they finally had a winning record. They're finally above 500, but still not good enough to win the division. So no playoff for them. So they lost to the 49ers 23-20. They lost to the Browns 42-12. They beat the Eagles 24-3. They lost to the Browns 27-10. Lost to the Giants 17-6. Then they beat the Redskins 24-16. Beat the Eagles 31-24. Beat the Giants 31-10. Beat the Cardinals 27-20. Beat the Bears 24-10. First time I think they played the Bears, I think. No, I take it back. They played the Bears before that. What am I thinking? First time they played them in a while, actually. Then they tied with the Redskins 14-14. And then they lost. I take it back. They actually beat the Cardinals 28-21. So they actually won or tied their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they actually won. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the last 7 games, if you throw out that tie, they would have won like 6 games in a row actually. But again, only for 3rd place. All for naught. They probably would have got a wild card today. So their offense, 261 points. They scored 1.8 points a game. Defense, 230, 19.2 a game. So you see again, it's like their offense is getting better, now their defense is getting bad. So it's like, they never can get it turned around. Never can get a balanced team. Oh, that's right. I got to show you the 1958 season. I don't want to forget that. Okay, the 1959 Steelers. This is the last of the 1950s, coached by Buddy Parker. The Steelers, actually, the last 2 seasons of the 1950s, they actually finished with winning records. Like I said, they were 7-4-1 in 58. They actually finished 6-5-1 in 1959. Again, barely above 500, 4th place finish, not good enough for division, so no title for them, no championship run, no nothing. So here we go. To finish off the last of the 1950s for the Steelers beat the Browns 17-7, lost to the Redskins 23-17, lost to the Eagles 28-24, beat the Redskins 27-6, lost to the Giants 21-16, lost to the Cardinals, I should say, 45-24, tied with the Lions 10-10, beat the Giants 14-9, beat the Browns 21-20, beat the Eagles 31-0, lost to the Bears 27-21, and then finished the 1959 season off, 1950s, beating the Cardinals 35-20. Their offense scored 257 points, a 21.4 average. Their defense, again, 216, an 18.0 average. So here is the recap of the 1959 season under Buddy Parker. So we're going to recap. I'm going to recap all of the rest of the 1950s from the beginning. Just in case you missed anything. I don't think I did, but we'll just do it for the heck of it. Here is the 1950 season when the Steelers went 6-6. Okay. Here is the 1951 season. As I flip it over, they were 4-7-1. Okay. Flip that over. The next two pages would be 52-53. There's the 1952 season. There's going to beat the Giants right there. If you can see it in Game 10, they beat the Giants 53-7. That was the highest. That was the highest score they ever had in their history. Okay, here's the 1953 season. After going 5-7 in 52, they went 6-53. Okay, we turn the page now. For 54. Here's the 1954 season. They were 5-7. As you can see, there's that 55-27 over the Browns right there. And there's the 55 season when they went with 4-8. And then we'll turn the page again. For the 56 season, there's a 56 season where they went 5-7, trying to get above 500, which was a struggle for that team back then. And then 6-6 and 57. As you can see, there's our. And then we'll flip the page one more time to get the last 2 years, which was the 58 season. There's that 7-4-1 record with Buddy Parker. And there's the 59 season, 6-5-1 under Buddy Parker. So, there is all the scores from the 1950s. I will make another video soon, which will have all the scores from the 1960s, from 60 to 69. Okay, this is a continuance of the other scores. If you have any questions, if you have any, any comments, just like in the other videos, feel free to do it. Thanks for watching, and have a nice evening.